We have a public hearing on the agenda tonight. This is concerning the rezoning of 10270 St. Rita Lane, Spartan Drive, and parcels owned by the state of Ohio, and add PUD-ID Innovation District, PUD Overlay District. Is there anyone that wants to address the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Yoder, please step forward.
Thank you. Should I leave my mask on while at the microphone?
You can take it off when it's a lot
Thank you.
easier to understand you when you.
Appreciate it. Well, thank you for having me tonight. My name is Ben Yoder. I'm a partner at Frost Brown Todd, and here representing AR Global tonight, which owns the property on St. Rita Lane that's currently leased to GE. Just a little bit of background of my client. It's a publicly traded company out of New York that specializes in owning triple net lease properties all over the globe. It learned of this proposed rezoning a couple months back, right before what was supposed to be, I believe, the first Planning Commission meeting on that. We quickly got up to speed, worked with staff, as we continue to do to this day, actually, to figure out what the proposed rezoning was and what we wanted to do about that. We worked with staff and the CIC on this, and frankly, because they're a triple net lease holding company, they're not accustomed to redeveloping properties, but working with staff and the CIC, a suggestion was thrown out of potentially the village purchasing our property. That's something that's intrigued us, but is just one of kind of two alternatives that we have thought of. The other is to potentially add some language to the proposed rezoning text such that we would be protected. My client's particularly sensitive to the concept of generalized manufacturing still being permitted on the property even after the rezoning, not just advanced manufacturing. And then also the concept of warehousing being permitted as a matter of right even after it's rezoned, as opposed to it becomes a conditionally permitted use. So we've been working with staff. Frankly, there will be a property inspection with a whole bunch of people, I think this Friday, where some of you may be attending as well. We're optimistic, we're hopeful that something can be worked out, but we wanted to come into it with eyes wide open that my client's concerns, which is really, they want the city to either purchase the property on terms that are fair and reasonable to both parties, or they would like to do as best as they can to lobby the village to include some additional protections for its property. They're very well versed in commercial real estate. They understand the concept of non-conforming uses. They understand the differences between a non-conforming use and uses that are permitted as a matter of right, acts of God, different things like that could affect the ability to sell, underwrite, et cetera, et cetera. So I come just to express, hope that we might be able to come to terms that are reasonable for the sale, but also express that I'm not beyond 100% optimistic that that can realistically be done, hopefully, but realistically be done before the December meeting. And while I'm incredibly glad that you all were willing to hear us tonight, and as I understand, postpone the second reading of this until the December meeting, I just at least wanted to come and say our piece as it relates to that in hope that we can hopefully either work out a deal or come back and talk about potential modifications to the proposed text such that my client could be well protected. So that's really all I had to say.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Yoder?
Yeah, I think what you're saying, what your client is saying, is that you feel that if you just had general manufacturing, the property in that area would be more marketable.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, that's kind of the conversation that we had with the CIC was if the highest and best use of the property truly is kind of an aeronautical related use, then there's no need to prohibit general manufacturing on the property because it would become, an aeronautical or advanced manufacturing type use. GE's lease comes up in 2 years, and we don't know whether they'll renew that lease or not. But from a real estate holding perspective, the maximum amount of potential flexibility permissible only helps the either releasing or sale of the property. So yeah, and because there's also some additional manufacturing facilities in that same area, it's close proximity to the airport. that's why they'd like to protect, frankly, what's already there, kind of the manufacturing component to it. Yeah, good question.
So the discussions are still ongoing?
Yeah, for sure. We'll do a property inspection this Friday. I talked with staff and said, we like the village, but we also aren't looking to donate the property, to the village. We're looking to recoup our investment there. There seemed to be an understanding that if there is a sale to be had, that the village at least appreciated where my client would be coming from in that regard. So whether we can work out an actual agreeable purchase price or not, I don't know. I'm just nervous of, can that be done? And if so, can that all be worked out before the December council meeting?
Anyone else have any questions for Mr. Yoder? Thank you.
That was easy enough. Thanks for letting me go early on the agenda. I appreciate it.
Appreciate your coming tonight.
Thank you.
That will conclude the public hearing on the rezoning of the property on it's Arrow Hub Drive now, but I guess they still call it legally St.
You
Rita.
want a motion to close the public hearing?
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer. Yes. Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes.
Okay, now we'll begin the council meeting, Pledge of Allegiance. Clerk will take the roll.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yeah, here.
Here.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Here.
Mr. Schaefer.
Here.
Ms. McDaniel.
Here.
The minutes have been previously distributed. Are there any additions, corrections, or changes? May I have a motion to accept the minutes as printed?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that will bring us to the Finance Committee report. Mr. Albright.
Yeah, Mayor, October totals, total revenue, 1.13 million. We are down about 8% for the year, or $93,000 from the year prior. We are ahead of where we thought we might be back in March and April. We are fairly confident that we're going to reach our budgeted number for this year is 14.8. We think we're going to reach it, which is optimistic. However, we are not as optimistic for next year, so we're reducing the budget by about $400,000 going into next year because of still the unknowns. Hopefully, that becomes a non-issue as we progress through next year. To date, the total revenue for the village exceeds expenditures by about $2.1 million. And so we are, from a strictly financial standpoint, we're in good shape. We have received money from the CARES Fund through Hamilton County, and total is going to be right around, when we're all said and done, right around $300,000. And we did receive a Bureau of Workers' Compensation check for around $89,000. Part of their refund of
Dividend.
payments.
Dividends.
Yep.
And you might note, even with all they gave away of $5 billion, there's still $5 billion in the fund.
It's my understanding it came close to everybody's premium
Yeah.
for last year was what they returned.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think they forgave us another premium, didn't they? And they still got $5 billion. Amazing. Okay.
Recreation, for those who have been around with, especially with the nice weather, the swing set project is, as of last week, the swing set was being installed. Where are we now?
Yes.
Just
Please step up the microphone because nobody can hear you if you don't.
Yeah, we're just waiting on some additional turf to be delivered, and probably next week that will be finalized.
so you're ordering nice weather so everybody can enjoy it?
Yes.
To extend a little bit further?
Yes, sir.
Also, the drive-through boo, this is in replace of the Fall Festival. About 450 people attended. A big help for 38 Phi Lambda Pi members volunteered. Again, just trying to make the best out of a tough situation. For those who attended, and a lot of positive feedback. Regarding Gorman Farm, the Sunflower Festival, sunflowers, there were about 3,500 guests. Again, the numbers were down a little bit, but again, under the circumstances, very positive. Income was $30,000 to $35,000, more than what was expected, not quite what it has been in the past, but more than what it could have been. So again, making the best out of a tough situation. Lastly, the service department, tonight's agenda, we're going to have a hiring ordinance to hire Brandon Asbrock as the department foreman at the beginning of next year. Leaf bags, it's always amazes me how many, we gave out 25,000 leaf bags. I don't know how many of them were full and filled and put out at the street, but to approximately 400 households. We also have the tandem trucks on order and to be delivered next spring, but that's in the works. That's all, Mayor.
Okay, anybody have any questions of the finance chair? If not, we'll move to the police chairperson.
Okay. I'm going to start with fire report, and specifically with our COVID-19 situation. Here in the village, we've had 38 cases year-to-date, 8 of which were still active as of last week. Of note, the governor usually has a press conference on Tuesdays, which he canceled. However, tomorrow at 5:30, due to the significant and exponential increase in COVID cases statewide, he is going to have a statewide address. So it can be viewed on the Ohio channel and probably other local stations. Also, we received a FEMA grant for the station alerting and fire alarm system. We had a 5% match. It was a $90,000 grant, so we were to pay $4,500 of that. For the police, the chief was unable to attend the meeting, so what we had planned to cover on the agenda, we actually deferred to December, so there's really nothing to report from the police this month. For cultural arts, in October, the Tri-County Players hosted 6 showings of Hitchcock on October, and the juried photo exhibit, which was held outdoors, was very well received, was held, I think it ended yesterday, started October 25th. So again, kudos to cultural arts for being very innovative, creative as far as how to handle events in a pandemic. And the bell tower upgrades, the floor abatement is underway. And I think we've kind of cut back on programs for November. The wine tasting event is the only thing that I show on the calendar, and that's correct. Director is nodding for those of you who can't see, so that's correct. Okay. And then for building and zoning, there are a couple of ordinances on the agenda for that, and that's our report.
Okay, anyone have any questions for the chairperson? If not, that will constitute the report of the Police and Fire Committee. I have just a few things. The ICRC meeting, quarterly meeting this month, showed that their financials are holding fairly firm. I've been concerned about that because there's some changes in how they are charged, but they seem to be pretty good. They've been participating in lots and lots and lots of Zoom meetings. Frankly, I don't know what the community would do without ICRC stepping up to the plate and taking care of us in this time of concern. Also kind of interesting, they established for high school football a thing called a box pass. And a school could sign up for a box pass, and then only their games would be produced to a limited number of people who had this box pass. And it could be free, or some of the schools were doing pay-for-play and in the football situation, and probably turning a nickel's worth of profits as compared to when they used to have fans in the stands and things like that. I thought that was school. It was up to the school district of whether they wanted to do it or not, and whether they wanted it free, or whether they wanted to have it pay for play. Also, the Griffin Nature Preserve Committee met Saturday, and we have 2 members on that. How'd that go, folks?
It went really well. I learned a lot, and we walked the whole property and spent about 2 hours up there walking around and kind of have a next step, what we want to do next. So we should have a report, I don't know, maybe a couple more weeks.
Okay. I had another person call me today to sign up for the committee, and
Yeah, are we up to about a dozen people that,
about a dozen people we
yeah,
had.
that's really good, yeah.
Pretty
Lot, lot of interest.
Pretty good turnout. And the only other thing I'd add is the painting of the service department building. Looks like it's about complete over there, and they're working on the roof of the building to put the other half together and put it on. And that's the extent of the report that I have. Anybody have any questions? Okay, then let's move to the ordinances and resolutions. First one is Resolution 20-69, and I ask for permission to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Miley Robertson,
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer.
Yes.
An ordinance amending various sections of Part 12, Title 4 of the Evendale Code of Ordinances to make modifications to the Evendale zoning code to reflect current practice and correct errors in the text and declaring as an emergency. Mr. Schaefer, I believe you have a motion.
Yes, I'd like to move to put back in the limitation on the size of wall signs. Originally, it's been 200 feet, 1/8 the side, 200 feet, and a couple other conditions. And I'd like to reestablish that, and we discussed it in I guess the maximum number would be 300 square feet is what we came upon
Okay?
at our discussion at our committee meeting.
And that would be one of 3 criteria. that
Right.
It has to be the smallest of one of
Right.
those 3 criteria. so.
Right.
Okay?
Was there a reasoning behind, or what, a certain situation that caused concern, or?
Well, just the concern, if you go down, it came up with the Silco building, because Silco wanted like a 254 square foot sign, as I understand it. And the current limit is 200 square feet, and if you look at all the other ones around there, they're fairly small, but Silco's just a big building. And so, originally, as written, they eliminated completely the maximum cap. And so in our discussion, we thought we ought to have a cap, and then the discussion was how much should it be? And if we raise it another 100 square feet, you still have the eighth, it can't be any bigger than the eighth of the side of the building or the front of the building, and then, that we would kick it up 100 square feet. And the Zoning Board of Appeals gave a variance for Watkins out on Sharon Road to 300 square feet. And so that we figure, well, if that's what they're doing, that's how we came to the figure. If we leave it at if we reestablish 200 square feet, then a few people may be coming in for variances, and that may not be a bad situation either. So that's but it's a number, and, we need some kind of number, and I think that in our discussion, I think we came up with 300, but if that's too high, then we could make it lower.
I'm willing to second that, Chris's motion of
Okay,
300
motion
feet.
has been seconded.
Mr. Schaefer.
Yes?
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
McDaniel,
Yes.
Strawberry,
Yes.
Snyder Robertson.
Yes.
Okay, may I have a motion to suspend the second or the third reading of the ordinance as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Snyder Robertson,
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff,
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer,
Yes.
McDaniel,
Yes.
Strawberry.
Yes.
May I have a motion to adopt the emergency clause of the ordinance?
Move.
Second.
Strawberry,
Yes.
McDaniel,
Yes.
Snyder Robertson,
Yes.
Mr. Sextro,
Yes.
Putoff,
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
May I have a motion to adopt the ordinance as an emergency?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Snyder Robertson,
Yes.
Mr. Sextro,
Yes.
Putoff,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
McDaniel,
Yes.
Strawberry.
Yes.
I now declare ordinance 20-69 adopted as an emergency. Next, we have ordinance 20-80. I need a motion to read it by title only.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Sextro,
Yes.
Mr. Putoff,
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer,
Yes.
McDaniel,
Yes.
Strawberry,
Yes.
Snyder Robertson.
Yes.
An ordinance amending the official zoning map of the Village of Evendale to change the IF-2 Industrial Flex 2 zoning to a PUD-ID Innovation District PUD zoning designation on certain property. This will consist of the first reading of the ordinance tonight. Next, we have ordinance 20-81. I'd like permission to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Snyder Robertson,
Yes.
McDaniel,
Yes.
Strawberry,
Yes.
Mr. Sextro,
Yes.
Mr. Putoff,
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into agreements with ancillary health and related insurance, dental care plus Avisus and Reliance Standard Insurance to provide dental, vision, basic life, and voluntary life and accidental death and dismemberment insurance benefits to full-time village employees and declaring as an emergency. May I have a motion to suspend the second and third reading of the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Putoff,
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel,
Yes.
Strawberry,
Yes.
Snyder Robertson,
Yes.
Mr. Sextro,
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer.
Yes.
May I have a motion to adopt the emergency clause of the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Snyder Robertson,
Yes.
Mr. Sextro,
Yes.
Putoff,
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer,
Yes.
McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
May I have a motion to adopt the ordinance as an emergency?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Sextro,
Yes.
Mr. Putoff,
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer,
Yes.
Strawberry,
Yes.
Snyder Robertson.
Yes.
I now declare the ordinance 20-81 adopted as an emergency. Next is ordinance 20-82, and I need permission to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Snyder Robertson,
Yes.
Mr. Putoff,
Yes.
Mr. Sextro,
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer,
Yes.
McDaniel,
Yes.
Strawberry.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute and convey a waterline easement to Landmark Baptist Temple, Inc., and declaring it as an emergency. May I have a motion to suspend the second and third reading of the ordinance?
Mayor, I had a couple questions about.
Sure.
About this. As I understand it, there's a private water line, and we're getting an easement to install a different water line that'll provide adequate fire service and so forth. I think there was some discussion of that. But then I see down here with ordinance 2087, we're paying for a water line break. Was that caused by us, or we're paying for a water line break at Landmark, and if that's a private service, why are we doing both? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, the lines that we were proposing is going to be tied off of the new main. This is a condition that Waterworks has placed upon us to get these easements resolved before they will sign off on the installation of the main going up Arrow Hub.
Okay.
The existing service for Landmark that exists now, that created some of this dilemma when we wanted to move the tap in once the new main is installed. Their current line is tapped in at Glendale Milford Road and runs up the existing roadway.
Yeah, it's a private main.
Correct. But during construction, it failed one weekend on a Saturday when they were doing the retaining wall.
So the contractor must have caused it to fail.
We
And usually when the contractor,
can't tell because it was, I can tell you where the water was coming from, but I can't tell you that the pipe collapsed because of it. But unfortunately, by the time it was discovered, it was late in the day. I don't know how long it had been running.
$6,000 worth of water.
Potentially, yes, sir.
Yeah, it just, it just seems to me that if it's a private line and our private contractor caused the break, it should be the contractor that pays for it. That's typically what happens with these things.
Problem is, we're sort of over a barrel here. We've got half of the street paved now, but we can't pave the rest of the street because it's the water line is in the middle of the street. So we're stuck.
Well, that's why you're getting the new water line, but,
Right.
but then why are we paying for the old one that's not ours?
Because it's still in the construction zone, but
Well,
I
it's
can't,
still
I
there,
can't
but
say
it's-
that they, it's not like, the main was in an open area that was being supported that all of a sudden collapsed. Alls I know is that we got called saying they had no water at the church, and when I went up there, the main was blowing out of the hole that was created by the water break. When it occurred, how it occurred, I can't tell you.
Yeah, it just seems
I-
the two are incongruous, but, and so this is going to make a public main through from,
We will install a public main tying into at the end of phase one to
Chester Road
Oak,
to Oak. From Chester Road to Oak?
No.
No.
Glendale Milford.
Okay, if we're going up Glendale Milford,
It's right now, the phase one tied into Glendale Milford
Okay.
and ran up to the stub road where we finished
Okay.
that phase. We will tie them to that and extend that main all the way up to Oak Road.
as a public main.
That's the public main.
And then Landmark will tie into that for their service and not have their main going.
Right, their service has to be out of Glendale Milford Road because they can't have a private main in a public roadway. So what created the dilemma was when we went to move that services up closer to the shelter that would have been in line where they go off the old access road into their property. At the time, Waterworks, when this was installed back in the, best guess, late 50s, early 60s, we're not sure exactly the date because the records aren't clear. The water tap at Glendale Milford is an 8-inch, but the meter is only a 4-inch. Current Cincinnati Waterworks regulations state if you have private hydrants on a domestic meter line, the minimum tap size is 8-inch. Conversely, when we move that up, we also have to move the sanitary tap up to connect into the new sanitary line. MSD's requirements are based upon the domestic meter size.
Right.
An 8-inch domestic meter size is $550,000. Ultimately, if the development continues, that $550,000 tap in that location would probably be removed, and we would gain no benefit. The fire department, over the summer, had tested several of the hydrants on their system with their trucks and hoses. Within several minutes, I'm sorry, Mike.
Yeah, at our meeting.
With several minutes,
right.
they started collapsing. So in lieu of paying MSD $500,000, my suggestion and recommendation is we would run 2 separate fire branches that would tie in the hydrants and separate them from the domestic service, because you don't pay sewage on fire mains.
Right.
So I'm proposing 2 8-inch lines, one that would extend from Arrowhead Boulevard past the pond to their parking lot, and the other one to Oak, from at the end of Arrowhead and Oak Road, along Oak Road to Cemetery Road, that would collect those hydrants, would provide them roughly 500 to 600 feet coverage for all the buildings that are out there
Okay.
from these public mains.
And what's your estimate of the cost of this?
It was roughly about $320,000.
Just curious.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Thank you. Now, may I have a motion to suspend the second and third reading of the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Albrecht,
Yes.
Mr. Sextro,
Yes.
Putoff,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
McDaniel,
Yes.
Snyder Robinson.
Yes.
May I have a motion to adopt the emergency clause of the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sextro,
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht,
Yes.
McDaniel,
Yes.
Putoff,
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
May I have a motion to adopt the ordinance as an emergency?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. McDaniel,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht,
Yes.
Mr. Sextro,
Yes.
Mr. Putoff,
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer.
Yes.
I now declare ordinance 20-82 adopted as an emergency. Next is ordinance 20-83. I need a motion to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sextro,
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht,
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Putoff,
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer.
Yes.
Ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute and convey a utility easement to Duke Energy, Ohio, and declaring it as an emergency. I need a motion to suspend the second and third reading of the ordinance.
Mayor, I thought we were going to do this on first reading.
I don't recall that.
I thought at our meeting, we talked about that, but.
We've entered into the agreement with Duke. I don't know what a first reading would, how far
Okay,
we get.
well, I just, because there's a lot of people concerned about what's going on there, and I know that James is gonna notify the surrounding residents, and I don't know, has that been done? And have you talked to all of them?
I have not yet, but we did talk to Duke and inform them that it will be the first reading this month. It will be dealt with in December. Sorry. We did inform Duke that this would be a first reading this month and it would be dealt with, we'd bring back in December,
Okay.
so.
It might be good, just because there's been a lot of interest in
Okay.
this, to explain exactly why, what the arrangement is, because it's a complex arrangement, and people should at least know what that is.
I tried to do that in the newsletter.
Yeah,
I
well,
guess I didn't get through to them.
well, no, I just think, that people, they should know exactly what we're doing here,
Okay.
so that, and that's the purpose of the meeting, is to exchange information.
That's
You
fine. Essentially what, as part of the Central Corridor Pipeline Project, there are 5 separate permits that were applied for by Duke to run the main that would start, at least in the village's case, at the, be the northeast corner of Plainfield Road and bore under Plainfield to essentially our separate right-hand turn lane that's in Stone Moore's corner property. Forgive me, I can't remember the resident that used to live there. It will cross over from that grass area to the north side of Glendon Milford. It'll run in the eastbound lane west to just past the last island before you get to Reading Road. It will then cross over to the north to just behind the parking lot of the Fine Arts Center. As part of the next portion of work from there to Norwood Hardware, due to the number of utilities and traffic that's in Reading Road, as well as to get under sufficiently the Mill Creek and its bedrock, they will directional drill from Norwood Hardware under the Mill Creek, Reading Road, and come up to a receiving pit that will be in the parking lot, just beyond the parking lot, behind the Fine Arts Center.
Okay, but the arrangement, though, is that the mayor's negotiated a easement fee of
82,000, that's the area that I'm
And
going to
that's-
refer to.
And that's the easement area.
That's what I'm
So
referring
he's
to.
got $182,000 for granting that easement. In addition, the Griffin property is going to be used as well, and there's certain arrangements with the Griffin property that also is ongoing. And, you know, I think that's because the two pipelines cross there. And so the Griffin property, they're going to apparently grant us an easement over the Griffin property for access to the
Correct.
pond, the Griffin
But
pond.
the 182,000 is in conjunction with the boring that's
Right.
going to be done.
Right,
Because once they do the work, once they directional drill from Norwood Hardware into behind the Fine Arts Center, in order to make sure that that trench does not collapse on them, they have to continuously weld and pull the pipe all the way back on a 24/7 basis, which would require use of most of the soccer field between the Fine Arts Building and the Service Department.
right.
So in our discussions with them, between our appraisal, what they had initially offered around 20,000, we had an appraisal done, which included restoration of the soccer field due to whatever damage may occur during that work, including our sprinkler systems. And they will rough grade it. It will basically, the 182,000 gives the village sufficient funds to have my service department be able to go in and restore the soccer fields to a playable condition. As part of this discussion, and before we would agree to the easement, during this process, they had purchased the former Griffin residence, the 3 acres along the Linden Milford Road, and they proposed a relief station that would supplement Line A, which is the major gas service that runs through essentially north to south through the village, past the mayor's house, over to Cooper Road, and then ultimately ends up going behind the GE and Formica properties. And so, well, even though that particular relief station is not part of the Central Corridor project, the village had expressed concerns to Duke that we wanted to understand what that was going to look like and how it was going to be represented to the adjoining property owners as well as the general public as they're traveling down Glen and Milford Road. Over the course of a few months, they produced renderings, which we sent out to the committee meetings. Brandon and I will have that posted on the website. We have added information under the administration tab on the village website and the Duke pipeline for the permits, the conditions of approval, the easement documentation, and now these renderings. More than likely, the renderings won't be done until, or that project will not be constructed until the end of 21 or 22. However, as Mr. Schaefer indicated, as part of the 3 acres, they will use a portion of it to build this facility. The remainder, roughly 1.4 acres, will be granted back to the village that we can build either access, small parking lot, small parkette, that would give us direct access to the pond instead of people having to walk all the way over from Weiss Carver.
I just think people should know what.
Yes, sir.
Okay, first reading, agreeable? This will be a first reading. Okay, let's go to ordinance 20-84. I need a motion to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
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 Yes,
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute the 2020 CARES Act local jurisdiction agreement with Hamilton County Board of County Commissioners and declaring it as an emergency. May I have a motion to suspend the second and third reading of the ordinance?
So moved.
Second?
Yes.
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 yes,
May I have a motion to adopt the emergency clause of the ordinance?
So moved. Second. Yes. Yes.
yes,
Yes.
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 May I have a motion to adopt the ordinance as an emergency?
So moved.
Second?
Yes.
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 I now declare ordinance 20-84 adopted as an emergency. Next is ordinance 20-85. I'd like a motion to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
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 Ordinance promoting Brandon Asbrock to the position of foreman as well as electrician in the service department and declaring it as an emergency. Like a motion to suspend the second and third reading of the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Motion to adopt the emergency clause of the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
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 Motion to adopt the ordinance as an emergency.
So moved. Second. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
I now declare ordinance 20-85 adopted as an emergency. Next is ordinance 20-86, and I need a motion to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
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 Ordinance authorizing William Meckley to be retained in the service department under special arrangement in order to retain his unique skills and knowledge to address critical pending issues. This will be the first reading of the ordinance. Next, we have ordinance 20-87. I'd like permission to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Ordinance authorizing the payment of amounts due upon certain contracts requiring certification of availability of funds and declaring as an emergency. This is our then and now ordinance, and I need a motion to read it by a motion to suspend the second and third reading.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
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 No.
Motion to adopt the emergency clause of the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 Motion to adopt the ordinance as an emergency.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
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 No.
I now declare ordinance 20-87 adopted as an emergency. Being the last ordinance on the agenda tonight, is there any other business to come before the council this evening? May I have a motion?
Move we
To adjourn.
Okay. Second?
Second. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.